Hello. Hello. Okay, it's on now. Okay, sweet. Hey, everyone. Really excited to be here. Get this going again. So this is fun. There's a lot of people here. This is our third Gatsby Days, and it's kind of doubled each time. So, you know, a few more iterations, and we'll fill the whole world. Like there'll be big stadiums, you know, all that sorts of stuff. I think that's how the math works. Anyways, who actually here has been to a previous Gatsby Days? Do we have any repeaters? I mean, other than Gatsby employees. Oh, one in the back. Sweet. Awesome. And a few other quick questions. Who? Yeah, just kind of like a survey of the crowd. Who here is like would consider themselves a pretty experienced Gatsby user? Like you've built multiple sites. Okay, so like a third. Who's here like working on their first site and like feeling kind of confident, but you know, got some still stuff to learn? Okay, about a third again. Okay, so this is nice even distribution. And I guess the last question is like, who's here like a rank beginner and has no idea what they're doing, and they're just like, what's this Gatsby thing? Sounds cool. Okay, sweet. Okay, so we'll hopefully have a mixture of you know, talks and presentations, whatever, on, you know, they'll meet all of your different needs. Mine's more kind of intermediate-ish, but hopefully I won't lose everybody or anybody, too many people. Okay, cool. I'm going to switch to my slides. Okay, so I don't like repeating talks too much, and so I always try to think of new angles. And so I was thinking for this talk, I would try kind of FAQ style, where I would just kind of answer common questions about different parts of Gatsby. So jump in first is, what is Gatsby? And this is actually a surprisingly hard thing to answer. I mean, I've tried to explain Gatsby like a ton of times. I see people asking all the time on, you know, Twitter or elsewhere. It's like, what is this Gatsby thing? Can someone actually explain what's going on here? And yeah. And we have an official answer, which is like Gatsby is a free and open source framework based on React that helps developers build blazing fast websites and apps. But it doesn't, I mean, it's pretty vague. It's like, what's a framework anyways? A framework could be anything. And so I came up with some like analogies of things like other products, tools were sort of like. So it's kind of like Create React App in the sense that, you know, Gatsby is a pre-configured toolchain for building React apps. It's kind of like Next.js, and it's a React web framework. You can build pre-rendered React apps. It's really good for SEO and kind of speed. It's kind of like static site generators like Jekyll, Hugo, in that you build your site and then you deploy static files to a CDN. It's kind of like WordPress and Drupal in that, you know, it's an open source tool. People primarily use it to build web properties on the website side of the spectrum. Generates PWA, so it's not really other PWA frameworks, but if there was one, I guess there's a few. But anyways, so it's kind of like those. You could also, you know, compare it to an operating system in that Gatsby doesn't do much per se itself, but it coordinates, you know, plugins and services to kind of all work together in concert. It's kind of like a compiler in that it takes your code and produces an optimized runnable version of it, in this case, a website. But in many ways, it's not like any of those. It's kind of you know, it's really, Gatsby really is like a new thing. It's like, it's not, I mean, you know, it shares elements with lots of other systems, but it is like a genuinely new thing. And it's like pretty low level, and you can like use it in a bunch of different ways. So like, you know, it's really kind of a, whatever that inkblot test thing. You can look at it and Rorschach test, thank you. So yeah, you can look at it and you can kind of see what you want to see. And the reason that it's new is just because the world is, you know, changing as it tends to do. And so over the last like 5-10 years, like how we build websites is changing. The fundamental architecture of the internet, you know, was like the LAMP stack, like kind of, you know, Linux, PHP, Apache, etc. But now it's moving towards kind of a cloud serverless model. And because of that, you know, Gatsby was designed to kind of accommodate that shift. And because of that, it's like a fundamentally new architecture. One way we describe the shift is that we're moving from the CMS to the content mesh. And CMSs are kind of one of the predominant LAMP stack era, applications, architectures. They were invented in the 90s. And now the CMS is migrating to become like a specialized modular services, which then like Gatsby can like pull in and create sites from. So this is my beautiful drawing I made. Put a lot of TLC on this. Anyway, so on the left side, we kind of have the old world, and the right side we have the new world, and like there's a front end and the back end. And CMSs were like monoliths that they kind of owned the entire vertical stack. But in the new world, like CMSs are now just on the back end. They're like a managed content service that you can like pull stuff from, and a single Gatsby instance can pull from like multiples of those. So like Gatsby is like the presentation layer for this new architecture, and then Gatsby's plugin layer then like connects out to any number of these content stores. And so Gatsby does three things basically. It aggregates data from multiple sources, which is the content mesh, and then it provides a dev environment that kind of makes sense of all this and allows you to be productive and get stuff done. And then it prepares your site for deployment. Okay, next question. What is Gatsby not? Gatsby is not really a static site generator. So in the earlier analogies, I was like, it's like a static site generator, but it's pretty different in significant ways. And we actually ourselves often compare Gatsby to a static site generator because it's a helpful comparison. But if you kind of take the comparison literally, it leads to a lot of confusion. Like we frequently see or hear people saying that like, oh, like Gatsby, doesn't produce like a React app. Like you have to like do something special on top of it or whatever. It just like produces static HTML and CSS. And you're like, well, no, actually Gatsby is just a React app generator, but we just pre-render, each page to static, HTML so it loads faster or whatever. But it's just in a React app. And a lot of people don't get that because they're thinking in terms of like Jekyll or Hugo, which are very different. Like, those sort of tools, they just take Markdown and convert it to HTML. And that's about, well, I don't want to, they do other stuff. But anyways, that's the essence of what they do. Where you can build that on top of Gatsby, that same sort of flow. But that's not what Gatsby is. Gatsby is much lower level, so it's much more flexible, extendable, and so on. So, yeah, we're not a static site generator. Okay, who is Gatsby for? It's a good question. Gatsby is a professional grade web development tool. So generally speaking, it's, it's good on my end. I don't know. Works on my machine. Okay, there we go. Okay, so generally for people who are professional web developers, and the reason is that I kind of designed and built Gatsby so that I could use it myself, and I've been a professional web developer for a long time. And so Gatsby is not meant to be like an easy tool to pick up, but it's meant to be simple. If you're familiar with like kind of the rich Hickey sense of those. And so the goal is to be a professional grade tool that kind of helps you build the best sites possible and kind of avoid a lot of incidental complexity along the way so that you as a professional can deliver amazing sites on time, on budget, and sort of thing. We do work extremely hard to make Gatsby approachable to new developers. Like we have a full-time learning team. We have like 1,000 plus, actually I don't know if it's that many, 1,000 plus like equivalent of like 1,000 plus pages of documentation now on gatsbyjs.org. So we work extremely hard to make it approachable and usable, but Gatsby does take some work to master. Again, given it's a professional grade tool. So who's Gatsby for eventually? So right now, Gatsby is essentially for developers, but our goal isn't to help developers per se. Our goal is to help amazing websites be created, which of course enabling developers to do that is like a big part of that. And this matters because the world runs on websites. Like more and more essential services that everyone relies on are websites, web apps, and we want to help with that. And so kind of how we think about it is so developers are like a key part of building websites, but the actual process of building some sort of web property is an incredible cross-functional job. for organization to take on, as everyone has something to play in building the website. So there's developers, of course, there's designers, project managers, product managers, marketers, content authors, a whole bunch of different various business stakeholders that get involved for different parts. And that, of course, leads to the joyful confusion that often results when you're trying to build stuff, is that everybody has a say on what the front page should be or how different functionality should work. And so a lot of what we do is just like we're thinking really hard about how we can help everyone working on websites, not just developers. So we have lots of plans, but a few examples. So our first cloud service, CMS Preview, our Gatsby Preview, it shows content authors immediate feedback when they change content. And this is a very important common workflow. So we have a number of customers now using it, and what they tell us is that without Preview, the non-technical people who are editing content, they couldn't kind of like own changes because they would change things but not see how they work. So they wanted to have like a front-end developer get involved to kind of give them confidence that they were not breaking stuff. But once they had immediate feedback, then they could own it. Like that kind of workflow of like, I changed something, I see what it's going to look like, was restored. Another example is like Gatsby Themes, Theme UI. Theme UI is a kind of a design system library that some of our team is working on. And the goal of this is that designers and other kind of non-developers can build Gatsby sites without writing any code, which would be huge. So improving developer workflows is just the start of what we're trying to accomplish. Okay, Gatsby Inc. What is Gatsby Inc.? So different ways of looking at that. We're Delaware C Corp. Boring. Anyways, venture-backed startup, raised some money. We fund development of Gatsby Core, many of the critical plugins in the ecosystem, docs, tutorials, example websites, etc. We're also kind of governing in the ecosystem. And we're also building key cloud services that people building Gatsby sites need. So what do we not? I do get asked this a lot. It's like, are you gonna like build sites for people? And like, well, no, we're not. That's y'all's job. we're just here to like help out with that, provide tools and so forth. Okay, so another common question is like, why is there even like a Gatsby company? What's the reason behind that? So one kind of big answer to that is that it's really hard to create open source tools, and it just takes a lot of people spending a lot of time to bring any open source project. But like in Gatsby's case, it's like we've been working years on this now. And if you look at any large open source project, they all have full-time people working on it. So there's somebody who's paying their salary for them to spend all day, every day, working on the project. So WordPress, Drupal, Git, et cetera, all have teams of people working on these projects. So several years ago when I was first just imagining what Gatsby could be, it was really clear to me that this was not like a part-time project. This was very much a, lots and lots of people working for a very long time to kind of build everything out. Hundreds of millions of dollars in investment. And you don't just kind of like pull $100 million out of the hat, generally speaking. If you did, keep that hat. I don't know. Keep pulling 100 million. Anyways. So it's like, it's like that sort of investment needs like a strong business model to actually work. So basically, like the only way to get access to that sort of money is to have like a company around which that kind of makes sense to invest that much in the open source project. So basically, the goal with Gatsby Inc. is that we create like a virtuous cycle between open source and kind of the commercial side of things, where Gatsby Inc. has an incentive to invest in making Gatsby better. And as we make Gatsby better, more people use Gatsby. And as more people use Gatsby, there's more demand for kind of commercial services that we're creating. And then as we make more revenue, we invest that into Gatsby, and then kind of the cycle continues. And because such a huge shift is happening in like how we build on the web, like this is a really, really large opportunity. There's a very real chance that Gatsby can be a very large portion of the web, kind of WordPress sized, with like millions of users, tens of thousands of customers, and lots of revenue. So if we succeed at that, then the open source will also get, have tons and tons of investment, and both will, both the OSS and commercial efforts will grow together. So I mean, kind of an example of this is coming to London was kind of fun / nostalgic, because a year ago there was just 3 of us who were working on Gatsby OSS full time, and we all got together here in London. As one of the team members, Mike Allenson, lives here, and we sat for a week, in a not air-conditioned Airbnb, just coding away. And anyways. It was great because we did 126 PRs in that week, and we made a lot of progress on V2. But yeah, there's just 3 of us at the time. But in the years since then, with the new funding that we've gotten and so forth, we've been able to hire quite a few more people, and so now our velocity and our ability to do things and improve things has grown significantly. Yeah, to the tune of 3 million or so a year. Cool. So. That's the end of the FAQ section. So I was thinking now, just kind of go over some awesome things that are happening. So one is we've been working on accessibility. So Marcy, who's speaking a bit later, she's done a lot of research around how Gatsby works with different screen readers, and found some areas that we can invest in that. And so we made it a priority to hire a new core member to work on focusing on improving accessibility within Gatsby. Is Madeline here today?
Not yet.
No, not yet. Okay, unfortunately, she's not here today. She couldn't make it today. Been working a lot on improving the GraphQL layer. So kind of the core data layer of Gatsby is what kind of pulls in data, creates the GraphQL schema, exposes it to your components and so forth. There's a lot of really interesting challenges and opportunities in that kind of subsystem of Gatsby. And so, yeah, just a few things. Better supporting abstract data interfaces. And so this enables Gatsby themes to kind of support multiple backends. We have a lot more work to do there, but that's really promising. Materializations, spelled the British way. Anyways. So this is a huge refactor of the data layer that Mikhail Novikov is working on, and it has some nice speed benefits. But the larger kind of long-term benefit is that this will allow us to have kind of different backends for storing the data. One of which will help a lot with larger sites is that we can build a SQLite adapter, which will mean that it'll be much more scalable than the existing kind of in-memory databases. We also added the ability to snapshot your Gatsby schema. So if you're having a site that keeps changing the schema or the type of different fields, you can now have a snapshot and then kind of fix it so that it doesn't change over time. So David is one of our 2 native Londoners. He's been doing a lot of work on the offline plugin and released the V3 of that, which has some nice improvements. Ward has been doing a lot of work on Gatsby's Webpack config around kind of the JavaScript bundling, so has some nice optimizations there. We added automatic dependency updates using Renovate. So for a few weeks, we had a swarm of kind of PRs updating all of our dependencies, which was fun to watch as long as you could ignore the emails. Anyways, but the upside though is now, whenever one of our mini upstreams changes, Gatsby quickly gets an update about that, and we can test that things keep working and so forth. So we're always using the latest version of stuff with bug fixes and security fixes and so forth. And we know that everything keeps working, because oftentimes Gatsby has hundreds of kind of upstream dependencies, and sometimes Gatsby can break if one of those changes and does something unpredictable. And so now we have kind of a very early alert that something breaks before one of you installs Gatsby and writes an issue saying that everything broke. Also, this is really exciting, is that we've started now work on localizing the Gatsby documentation. So Nat, who just finished this with the React docs, is now helping out for a few months on that. So we added, so GraphQL, we added a new code exporter. Actually, why isn't this working? So this is a new code exporter. So you can be in GraphQL writing a component, and then you click Code Exporter, and then you get the code that then you can copyright into like source pages to create the page. And we have we think there's like a ton of really interesting possibilities here of kind of like syncing the queries back and forth between your site. So imagine if you like could just like go here and just say, I want to edit the query for this page, and then it just pops up, and you can do it, and then it would sync back to the file system. So a lot of cool stuff we can do there. We added, so Gatsby image, really popular part of Gatsby, has a lot of nice features. We added like native lazy image loading support, as Chrome just shipped that recently. And so this is a nice, kind of a nice thing about React components in general is that like we can automatically add support for kind of native browser features as they ship. We launched Gatsby themes in early July. And in July, we also had a theme jam where hundreds of people submitted Gatsby themes. And so these are a few of the top ones. And later today, actually, Alan from Little and Big, he's going to give a talk about the theme that they created. Yeah, in general, just we're seeing like tons and tons of activity, which is really exciting to see. So both from the from everyone all around the ecosystem. So this is like the last month. We've had almost 400 merge pull requests, which is pretty insane. So this is like our total count now. It's getting into weirdly big numbers. Yeah, so and then some commercial news. Gatsby Preview is now in open beta. So if any of you haven't tried that, you can go to gatsbyjs.com and try it out. Also, so if you see here, we have a 14-day trial. So we're actually releasing a new pricing structure where we'll have a free tier that's forever free, and this will be for like kind of personal hobby sites, and then past there will be kind of usage-based pricing. We'll have more news about that soon. And then also, we're getting close to closed beta for a new build service, which will include incremental builds, kind of a long-awaited feature. Anyways, and it's an alpha. We've been doing some tests with people and working super hard on that. And yeah, and so everyone here will get early access. We'll be emailing you some point in the coming weeks to sign up and give it a go. And that's my talk. Use Gatsby. It's cool.